sounds good. I'm generally monitoring, I don't know, 90 minutes to 3 hours a day when I'm out here on the patio. The automatic power off function makes that really easy.
What's up, everybody?
73
Welcome to the Ham
Ham
Radio Crash Course. Listening to some local comms on the 2-meter calling frequency 146.520. I will be listening for those that are in Southern California. I've heard all the way down. Oh, that was somebody way on the noise. I do listen to that on occasion. I leave it running. Okay. Waiting for everybody to slide in here. What do we got? William Blanton's in the house. Ryan M. Richard D. Anthony Becerra. Zach's there. And Anthony Becerra again. Hello and hi, Zach. All right. We're trying to run a little bit lower latency with this stream. Let's see how it goes. So far, so good. Although I'm noticing that... Oh, there we go. Yep. 10-second delay. Very good, Zach says. Excellent, excellent. So this is just low delay, not or zero delay. We'll try that next time. All right, I'll turn this down a little bit. Officially licensed. Colorado Ham officially licenses of noon today. One of the patrons. Very, very cool. Today is Patron Picks. So that basically means the patrons at the $10 level picked what we're talking about. I sent out a poll and I let them vote, and then we go forward with their decision. Today we're going to be talking about effective ways to make a QSO, and that's finding a frequency, that's finding a contact, that's doing all the things you need to do to make a contact. So should be a lot of fun. Kind of, if you think about it, last Friday, you got your license, now what? This is kind of a continuation, so good choice, good pick on that. Do want to hit some news. We do have a couple of items. Remember, we are moving forward with ham radio, so that means we just incrementally add to our knowledge, tuck it in here, and then we try and go exercise it and work on it and make something happen. Every time we do that, we get a little bit smarter. It's almost impossible to be an expert in ham radio in all things, myself included. I'm always learning. So bear with me, bear with us as we move forward and try new things and do new things. Don't feel bad if you're learning. Everybody's learning at one time, and every little niche of ham radio has aspects of learning every time you try something new. So you're always a noob every time you try something new. Even though you're a ham, first time you pick up a beam antenna to work in FM satellite, you're a noob in that area. You could have been working repeaters for years, but the first time you do it, you're new to that. So keep that in mind. So the homework for today is make a QSO on 2-meter call or 7-meter call frequency. It's just simplex. You're just using FMHTs on 146.520 is what I recommend. It's really good for that, so I recommend you do that. A couple of news items. I have a hex beam. It's not installed yet. I had big goals of trying to install it today, but Edison was not feeling well, so I stayed with him. But yeah, I've got it, and I'm going to be putting it together this weekend, so it's going to be on the roof. I've got a couple of quick pictures off of the website. This is Radio Waves, radiowaves.com, I believe it is. Radiowaves.com, that's WAVZ, and that's mine exactly with those kind of arms on the side. That's the 40-meter band, those shorts, they call it. And that's what it looks like. The Sentinel hex beam on 20-meter, 6-band, so 20 through 6 is the beam, and then there will be a broadband rotatable dipole. Oh, 2 chats again. Why does that keep happening? There you go. Thanks for that. Thanks for the tip. Yeah, so we'll have... I didn't do this animation. Their website's doing that. That's lovely. Yeah. So, yeah, it does. It kind of looks like an upside-down umbrella. Very cool. Very excited to put that up. But that's exactly what it looks like. How big is the hex? It is 20 feet in diameter. It is not a small antenna. It's actually a pretty big antenna. But it's round, and it's got a 1-pound wind load because it's relatively balanced. So it's good to go. Very excited about that. Okay, so hex beam's on the way. Hams helping hams. We've got somebody. He's in the chat, and he's on the Discord. We call him shadow towing. He's a bit immobile right now due to some back issues, but he's looking to take his license test. He reached out to a club, and they're coming out, or I believe he reached out to a VE, and they're coming out to give him the test where he's at. So that's really cool. Hams helping hams, that's awesome. And then along with that, one of the community members on the Discord I actually sent them a little bit of walking around money in case the examiners needed it for gas or whatever. So really, really cool. I'm constantly impressed by the level of support that everybody in the community gives, either on the Discord or on Facebook, on the Ham Radio Crash Course. It's just amazing. So if you're watching this and you're not active on either one of the Facebook or the Discord, I really recommend going to check it out, because there's just so many good people out there, so many good things. So if you hear people in the background, the family is home because, again, Edison isn't feeling well and everybody's kind of under the weather. So we'll make do. Don't worry about the noise. It's not somebody breaking in my house. Brew Crew. So Leia got me something special. Oh, this is not going to... That green screen, though. That green screen. Let's do it this way. Let me show you something here. So this is... Hitachino Nest Beer. This is a Japanese red rice ale. I have never even heard of this, but the bottle is very cool. I love this bottle. It's really cute with a little owl, as Edison would say. It's so cute. Yeah. What do we got? 100 people. We are just getting started. Yeah. I don't know what that meant, Zach. So let's pour. Ooh, my San Mig glass has got some water damage. All right, so a bit of a darker ale. Japanese beers are generally very lagerish, very light, very ricey. They've got this kind of sweet taste that I don't jive with. But look at that. That's pretty impressive. Ah. Ah. Hey, that's not bad at all. 666. Toys are for boys. Thank you. I see you survived all the evil. Sucks the family's under the weather. Feel better soon. Yeah, maybe that was it. It was a Halloween bug going around. Let's see. Hello. So somebody said hello from North Carolina, and could you please do a video on the new technician exam? So I want to mention. Oh, that's my phone. I'm still showing you my phone. I want to mention that it's not a new exam. It's a change to the questions already on the exam. They added some, they changed some others. It's not a big difference. The videos that are out there are still completely valid. Let me fix my dress here on my light. Still completely valid, the videos we did. At most, we could do like an addendum video to catch everybody up on what changed. That would be fine. But there is new books out there. The Gordo book, the ARRL book, it's all out there. I don't think I could maintain my sanity and do a brand new technician video. But believe me, the content is the same. You're still going to get a lot of value out of it. So, please check it out if you are if you're interested in that. Oh, that's a good drinker. This is what is this? 75% no, 7% alcohol. Ale brewed with red rice. I love it. It's surprisingly good. It's not too Japanese sweet. Oh, we got Coventry. Someone's from Coventry. Greg Goddard. Oh, Greg, what's up? Yeah, of course. We've talked before. Very good. Okay. So, upcoming videos. There's going to be a lot of videos on this antenna. I'm telling you. I just did a video on putting the mast together. Really, it's a tower. It's a tower that's going to be on my roof. I'm so excited. I saw the pieces. It's so well made, and it's a beast. It's actually like 3 antennas in one, and I'm gonna have to break all that down and explain it to you guys. There will be a live stream in the future, if not next week, to cover it, if not before then, because I'm so excited. Anyway, that will be for another time. Let's talk about today's topic. Effectively find frequencies to use, scanning, and common things to know when making a contact, or QSO. What does that even mean? When I typed that, I myself was like, what are we even talking about here? What does that mean exactly? Yeah, so hold on. Let me make my chat a little bit different. Chat long, we want that, and we want the other chat gone. Boop. That's much better. Much better spacing. So what does that mean? Boop, 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 boop. So our goals in amateur radio, really high-level goal, is to make a contact. We call those QSOs. That's where we exchange some amount of information. They could be rag chews. They could be really long-distance contacts, and we got to be quick, and we got to exchange things really effectively and efficiently. So While a contact is the goal of amateur radio, it's really the learning your station and operating effectively that is needed to be learned. And that's whether you're on VHF or UHF or HF, we're really learning to utilize the equipment. As I say, the journey is the goal. When you get those contacts, it's a great feeling, but it's getting there. It's getting your station up and running. It's learning how it operates, the science behind it. It's all of that that is really rewarding, for me at least, and I believe for others. So we'll talk about VHF, UHF up front. You got to find frequencies. So I'm assuming you set up your radio, you've got your HT, or you've got a mobile. In the case of the screenshot, that's my 2730 by ICOM. And somebody asked, what's a rag chew? A rag chew is when you get on the radio and you're just talking with your buddies, just going back and forth, back and forth. They can go on for 30 minutes, hours. I've been on an 80-meter, multiple 80-meter rag chews where it just goes on and on and on. Well into the early morning, way later than it should have. And you're just talking, you're just hanging out until the bands die, basically. You're up talking to your friends. So VHF, UHF, there's a couple things you can do. There's a lot of things, but I'm going to cover the things that are the most simple, the easiest to get started. So the calling frequencies are your friend. I already mentioned them. It's 146.520 for 2 meter and 446.000. Now, there's a link there, ARRL.org band plan, but the link is in the description, so feel free to check that out. Now, I mentioned in the last video, you should program your radio. And there's multiple things to do that. There is the Repeater Book website. There is Radio Reference? I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank. But there's lots of places you can go online to find repeaters in your area. You should program those in your radio. And then you should judiciously use the scan feature on your radio. I've mentioned this multiple times. Scan all your active memory locations, but also occasionally throw it into VFO mode and scan on the VFO. Now, there are some downsides. If you find something, it's likely a repeater, so you've got an extra step of having to find the PL tone. The PL tone is what allows you to key up the repeater, to bring in your transmitted audio and send it out over the radio on the repeater. So a little bit of work you have to do there. You may have to use the internet to find that PL tone. Some of the better radios... what happened to my hairs? This is my hairs here? So some of the better radios will do a search for PL tone so that you can find it. The radio will figure that out for you, and then you can commit it to memory. And then digital, if you're using an analog radio, will be completely undistinguishable. You won't be able to copy it unless you're on a DMR radio or a digital radio reference. All one word. Thanks, Rob. You nailed it. And then note, scanning is only as good as there are activities in your area. So just because you have your radio loaded for bear for all these repeaters and you're scanning around, if there's nobody, at 2 p.m. on Tuesday using it, your radio won't stop. There's no activity. So you may find a repeater that's really close to you, or you may have a repeater that's really close to you, but nobody's ever on it. So what do? Well, you got to keep scanning throughout the days, figure out what's going on at different times, and commit those to memory. Write it down. Have a document on your computer that says, hey, there's a net this time on Thursday or whatever. We'll talk about nets in a little bit. But scanning the VFO is always a lot of fun because you can stumble into simplex QSOs, which is always kind of a voyeuristic thing, but still pretty interesting and fun. And again, use those calling frequencies. They're very helpful. Okay, so now HF. HF doesn't use channels. We don't use memory channels. You can, but likely, because there's not a lot of form to it, we don't create a lot of band plans for like repeaters or whatnot. We're all over the place. So spin that VFO. The VFO is the big knob usually on the front of the radio. Spin that thing, look all around the band. I've got a bit of a cheat because I have the desk I have, the 7300. When I spin the dial, I can see what's exactly out there, and if I don't like what I'm seeing there, I can hop over to other things. See, I can't wait to get that beam because I don't see a lot going on. There's all the activity. It's on 80 meters. See that coming in? Those are all contacts. So I'm cheating a bit, right? Because I can just pull up my waterfall. If you have an SDR, you have the same capability too. Waterfalls are great. But if you don't have that, just spin the VFO and listen. Really put the cans on and really start to listen. Okay? So the frequencies we use, there is an informal... Okay, so let me go back a step. There are informal band plans, and we have privilege restrictions, and the space that we use is kind of to not infringe on people. So what does all that mean? So we've got spaces, privileges on 20 meters and 40 meters and 10 meters and all that stuff for amateur radio licenses, particularly the general and the extra. And so as long as we stay in there, there's also informal sections, right, that split that up. There's spaces for CW, there's spaces for single sideband, phone comms, spaces for digital, etc. So we kind of follow a band plan, and there's a link to that also in the description. But basically, we go around scanning the frequency, looking for activity, listen for a long time before we try to do anything else, and eventually we may find somebody talking or may find some activity on PSK 31 or most likely FT8, which I've talked about. So yeah. Further, the mode, particularly for HF that we use, is going to have a large factor in activity, right? So activity, receiving, and your ability to transmit is affected by which mode you use, right? When we were doing the general license videos, we talked about bandwidth sizes and what works for further propagation or propagation into the noise. CW, right? Morse code, really, really good because it has a narrow bandwidth and you can really punch out there with that. With your RF, it's easier to receive down in the lower noise, so is digital. Digital is almost more so in some cases because your computer is doing the decoding. It's hearing those little tones well down in the noise. FT8's upper limit is negative 24 dB, that it can still pick out the signals that it's hearing down in the noise. So that's superb, right? That Ducey Island de-expedition that just completed. It completed yesterday or the day before. By the way, newsletter is going out this weekend for all the patrons, so keep that in mind. If you want a link, that's in the description as well. And I will be talking about Ducey because I made some contacts and I have some thoughts. I had a lot of fun with it, but a lot of those contacts were on FT8. Worked way down in the noise. Really, really cool. So digital modes are awesome. And then, of course, there's single sideband. I didn't include AM because AM is an even wider bandwidth than single sideband. But with single sideband, it's really easy to copy people as long as it's a perceivable tone of voice and it's, copyable. So the only downside is larger bandwidth means over range, it's not going to travel as far necessarily as digital or CW. So you scanned your VFO around, you found a station, and maybe you're copying them. Maybe it's a little muddy, but if you're like me right now, currently on 100 watts in a wire, you try and transmit on single sideband and they're not copying you. Maybe they don't even hear you. Part of the reason maybe is because they have a better antenna, a higher up antenna, more power. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. So spin that dial, get really comfortable with listening, right? Listening a lot to figure out what's going on in your area. Oh, that was the wrong thing I wanted to do. Here we go, buddy. All right. So a couple of things to also, there's all these kind of things that go into making a successful contact. Not only do you got to pick your mode, you also need to pick your band depending on what time of day it is, right? So you need to pick your band based off of daytime, nighttime, gray line, and gray line is basically dusk or dawn as the light passes over you. That's called gray line. And there's certain propagation perks that work with gray line propagation. So daytime, the high bands, 10 through 20 meters, 6 meters occasionally too, works really good in daytime. There is a Brian asks, is the feed lagging? So there is a delay on the feed, but hopefully we have not had hopefully we're not having video problems like we had last week. Nighttime is the low bands, 20 through 160 meters work the best, right? We're on 80 right now. Again, let me show you the waterfall because it's blowing up. Right, so you can see all this activity, these yellow bars, right? Those are all different contacts that's going on, right? Oh, Edison needs to go potty. Right, so that's all activity on the band. That's good stuff. All right, so and then gray line, right? 20 meters, we'll mention, notice how 20 meters shows up both on the high side and the low side. 20 meters is kind of rides the line of day and night. It's an okay band in general. It's kind of a preferred band for things like soda. I've often used it for soda. It works well at that time. And it does very well at gray line. So does 40 meters for that matter. Now, something you can do to kind of help you out a little bit is get a more effective antenna, which we'll talk about, but that's a pretty large challenge. And the big note there on the bottom, the takeaway from this slide is we're in a solar minimum. So the low bands are going to be favored. There is less UV radiation coming out of the sun, so all the nighttime bands are generally going to do a bit better. One of the reasons why I got the dipole on the side of the hex beam is because I know we're going to be playing the low bands for years and years and years before the beam side is really going to rock. Future proofing the station a little bit. Why does it keep doing that? Oh, because I clicked off of the website. All right. A great way to meet people online is through nets. So I mentioned maybe you're scanning around and on your radio you hear a bunch of people talking or calling for contacts or calling for check-ins is the term you'll hear. That's a net, right? We run a net. Zach runs a net on DMR. It's our own talk group for Ham Radio Crash Course. So if you're on DMR, you're on Brandmeister, we are talk group 31621, and it happens at 1:30 UTC on Thursday or Friday, depending on where you line up in the world. So yeah, it's a content. Basically, what happens? Time rolls around. The net control operator calls up, queues up, and says, "Hey, I'm activating the net," and starts asking for check-ins. There can be some news traveled back and forth if there's priority messages. Those usually have precedence, and then they call for check-ins for people who are new. There's all kinds of different ways people operate nets. So if you stumble onto one, pay attention, listen a lot, and when they call for newcomer check-ins or just new people in general, key down and give your call sign, and then they'll ask you to come back with your details. If you want to, William is saying audio is out. I don't know. You can find more information on nets on the link provided in the description and the ARRL net directory search, which is available right there in the link. So yeah, I've stumbled onto many nets. I find that Sunday mornings to be very, very good for stumbling around. So keep that in mind, right? I don't know why Sunday morning is such a good time for nets, but yeah. You're freaking me out, William. William, you're freaking me out. I'm hearing audio problems, and then everybody's coming back, and now I'm like pausing, going, oh, DJ Snibs. We had our first local DMR net last week. So pumped, more people getting into DMR. I haven't seen you in a while, DJ Snibs. I'm glad to see you again. All right. So final tip, which sideband to use? So this comes up, I get asked sideband questions a lot from people that are getting into HF. So sideband is just AM with a sideband stripped off, either the lower sideband or the upper sideband, right? Which one do you use? Well, it's a suggestion, overall suggestion. You can see that note at the bottom. Overall suggestion for phone, we're talking voice, 20 to 6 meters, use upper sideband. For 40 through 160 and anything lower, use lower sideband. Okay? For digital, RTTY uses lower sideband. PSK31 follows the recommendations for phone. So if it's 40, it's lower sideband. If it's 20, it's upper sideband. And then FT8 generally uses upper sideband. Keep that in mind. Sometimes anything lower than 10 megahertz LSB. Oh yeah, I didn't mention 30. So yeah, 30 meters would also be lower sideband. Very good. Or no, lower, so 30 would be upper. Yeah. Anyway. What's the note? Yeah. These are guidelines. They're not laws. The FCC is not going to come track you down and go, you were using lower sideband on upper sideband frequencies. You're coming with me. There are rare situations where that can happen. We generally don't. We try and follow. It's kind of like a band plan, right? It's kind of like a band plan. These are your privileges. Now, your privileges are rules. You should stay within there. But when you're within there, you can use CW in your entire frequency space. It's recommended for the low side of the frequency, but you can technically use it anywhere, right? Those are suggestions. Yeah, Bam V Dad says, thanks for covering that. Always confused about which sideband to use. Yeah, it's pretty simple, and there's no effect. It's just the upper or lower sideband. Now, there are a couple questions in, I believe, general, extra, and tech may even have it. Band privileges have an upper and lower limit. If you were on the lower limit, right, your low side of the frequency band, you can't take lower sideband and put your carrier on the low side because your sideband is going to peak over the end. Don't do that. Same thing for upper sideband. If you're on the upper limit, you can't take your upper sideband and put it over the side, right? Or is it the other way around? Anyway, there are bandwidth sizes. Your carrier, so when you turn that VFO knob, the display on your radio is the carrier. It's the center point. And sidebands are just one side or the other side. So you got to be really careful when if you tune to the boundary of that band and you're running a sideband, you got to make sure you're not spilling over with your bandwidth. Remember that. Important. So you found a frequency, you found somebody calling CQ. Right, so we're going to talk about replying to or calling CQ. And this is kind of the core, this is the meat and potatoes, the holding the PTT and talking to somebody. Often contacts are just one person calling out and somebody replying. That's all it is. There are a few ways to execute this efficiently. Oh, good point. GP Tucson, 60-meter phone is always upper sideband. Good catch. I don't ever use 60-meter phone. DJ Snibs, is RTTY technically digital mode if you're using some old AM rig with a legit typewriter? Yeah, it's digital. In fact, I posted an image way back. I gotta go back and see if I can grab it. There was a RTTY keyboard and a RTTY monitor that was at the HRO a little over a month ago. Awesome. I would have bought it, but it was like huge, and it's so focused for RTTY, and I don't think it's effective at RTTY contact, so I didn't get it. So replying to CQ. So you've tuned around the band, and you found somebody calling CQ, CQ, CQ. What do you do? Well, replying to CQ is somebody is just waiting for that person to stop transmitting. Give them a second. Although you kind of have to be fast on HF. There's not as many requirements to let the repeater un-TX, un-PTT or whatever, the repeater. You don't have that requirement. If somebody stops talking, you can kind of jump in there. Unless that person is already holding a QSO. So let's say you found somebody that's talking. Likely they're not calling CQ. They're having a conversation. If you stumble onto somebody talking about their cats, for example, that's what we were listening to earlier when we kicked the thing off. Let them talk for a while. Find an opening, and then you can say something like comment. Some people don't like to use the word break because it has connotations to CB. I don't have any problem with that. I don't care. But or just use your call sign. Sometimes using your call sign, somebody will stop and let you talk. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about somebody who was just transmitting. They were calling CQ. They're waiting for someone to come back to them. What do you do? Well, give it a second and then reply with your call sign. Just give your call sign, either phonetically or just give it KI6NAZ. If the caller received you, they'll reply. If they want to make a contact with you, which they're calling CQ, so it's probably likely that they will. The information that you need to have on hand is your QTH, which is the location of the transmitting radio, where you are. If you're doing some kind of crazy remote thing via the internet, your QTH is where your radio is. Your grid square. A lot of people are doing, you can even say call please or call. Yeah, you can do that too. Just do something that lets people know that you're trying to break in for a second or whatever. Not to change the topic on you there. But, your grid square, there's a lot of people that are doing the grid chase, the ARRL grid chase. And you can find out more information if you look up ARRL grid chase. But basically, the whole world is chopped up into these grids, these square grids, and they all have an identifier. If you're transmitting from a location, it's probably a good idea to have your grid square. It's used as a location, particularly for FT8, because people are tracking these. They're trying to fill out as much of the grid as possible. So, Richard D says, radio check? Not for CQ. Or if somebody's having a contact back and forth and you just go radio check, well, they were talking. You interrupted them to stop them from doing what they were doing to help you in service of your radio. It's kind of rude. The only reason I ever break into a conversation is, one, if it's an emergency or if you need help, or two, if you had something to add to the conversation. Maybe somebody was asking for traffic information on a specific freeway. You were on that freeway and things were looking good. Then you'd say break or comment, and then you could add your 2 cents. But radio check is something you would use on a repeater that was quiet, and you hoped that there was somebody monitoring. That would be my recommendation. And then other pieces of information that you need. Dave Serafini asks how to find your grid square. Look up ham radio grid square on Google. I didn't put that link in the description. I will do that. There's a lookup. You type in your zip code, and it'll give you your grid square. Other piece of information to have is, so the signal report is something that you're going to capture live while you're listening to the QSO. And I'll give you an example. So let's go back to my 7300. Oh, I'm on 340. So that's over S9. Okay, before that gets racy, let me just mute that. But you can see my S meter is... Oh, did I lose the... I did lose it, shoot. My S meter is S9 or higher, right? So that's a big signal. That's the signal report that you would give to the person that you were having a QSO with. You would tell them 5-9. 5 is a notation on the how legible or understandable, legible is probably the wrong word, how how understandable their voice is. Is it really clear? Is it good? Is there good tone to it? That's a 5. If it's less than that, 5 being the highest, all the way down to 1, 1's barely discernible, but you could figure it out. And then signal strength is your 9. Okay, so have that too. And then contest specific stuff. If you're doing a contest, look up whatever contest you're doing. And I'm assuming if you're actually doing a contest, you'll know to look this up. But you'll need to have contest specific stuff. Okay. I have an example of contest stuff you may need. There is a podcast called 100 Watts in a Wire. They have a Fallout and a spring event. It's a 24-hour or weekend event where they just work QSOs, and they have a 100 Watts in a Wire ID. You need that ID number. That's one of the things you need for a QSO. Cool. Focus on the radio. Yeah, I know. And that was one of the things I was looking at. You know how many things I got to do? You know how many things I got to do to make this happen for you guys? And you're over here saying the audio's bad and the focus is off. Come on. Come on. Sean Strong, 599. That's for CW. That's for CW. What radio is sitting on top of the 7300? That would be a 2730. Yeah, 2730. It's also an ICOM. I didn't buy them because I'm a brand idiot for ICOM. I've got plenty of radios, but that was cheap and I bought it used, so. K2SAL radio. If you have a call sign, you should be registered with QRZ. Just click the details tab and it will give you the grid square. Oh, that's great. That's a good way to do it too. I always just use the lookup thing and then I just remember where I'm at. So, okay, so let's say you flipped it now. You were replying to somebody that received. Now you want to call CQ. Calling CQ is easier but harder, and I'll explain why. First, you need to find a quiet frequency and listen for a few minutes. Listen, really, really listen, because it's possible that the way your antenna is configured, this, that, or the other, you could have more transmit capability than receive. The counter option is also true. Often antennas are much better at receiving than they are transmitting, but how it's aligned, how your radials are laid out, where you have lobes, where you have points of gain, all these things. Listen, 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 and then say, your call sign is this frequency in use. And then wait a second. A minute's probably a little bit too long, but you're basically going to find out, what do we got going on here? Is there anybody I'm stepping on? I hope I'm not stepping on anybody. Because what happens a lot of the time is you will hear one side of the conversation talking. You'll hear one guy really, really loud. He'll be S9. And then you'll hear... That's some guy way, way, way far off. The person that you're probably hearing S9 has probably got a beam that's pointed over your head. And you're just getting the afterburner, right? As he's blasting out across the country. So, you might be asking, is this frequency in use when that other station is keyed up talking to the local station you hear really loudly? It can happen. In fact, it's happened to me before. So make sure you're always listening, right? And then you say, okay, my call, ready, my time to go, CQ, 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 your call sign, and then your call sign phonetically, CQ, CQ. There are many variations on this. You can do this in all different ways. Richard D says, is anyone on 2 meters in Los Angeles? You can hit me on Los Angeles. In fact,
Nice talking to you. His name here is Tom, by the way.
there's somebody on 2 meter call right now.
Yeah, okay, Tom. Dale. Quite a while to
That's Los Angeles area.
a few things, so I can get on. We'll catch you later, Tom. Have a good.
Okay, that might have been the guy talking about cats earlier. $5 from John D. Liberto. Have a coffee or two for dropping some valuable info. From 7-3s from AB3Z. Is that AB3ZI? That's, whoa, doubled up. Thank you so much. AB3ZI, that's a cool call. And you got N2 Sol Radio, $10. Thank you so much, both of you guys. That's awesome. Sean Strong says Renegade frequency. Yeah, that's the 435. 435 would be the Renegade frequency in LA. I don't recommend you go there, particularly if you have kids in the room. But you can, and that's on the radio. The FCC says if you let the thieves have a den, in which they can be den of thieves in the den, they don't venture out of the den. So that's why they don't mess with that Renegade frequency. I've talked to FCC enforcers in our area, and I've asked them specifically, what's the deal with 435? And they say, if they don't venture out, we don't mess with them. So there you go. So, okay, you're in front of your station, you're calling CQ, you're saying KI6NAZ, Kilo India 6, November Alpha Zulu, CQ. That's pretty much it. And then you're going to wait a second, you're going to do it again. You're going to wait a second, you're going to do it again. Now, there's all kinds of things that dictate how successful you will be in calling CQ. You can have a really nice radio, a really bad antenna. You could have a great antenna, a low-powered radio. I would probably, if it were me, I would rather have a QRP radio with, wow, JR, is it Riley? Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate all the love tonight. That really means a lot. Thank you so much. The shadow towing story almost made me shed a tear, and now you guys are really being nice. So thank you so much. I appreciate all the love. So I personally would rather have like a lower powered station with a just badass antenna than a really nice radio, 100 watt radio with a bad antenna. So keep that in mind. Pronounce real. Okay. Thank you. JR Real. Okay, I see it. Thank you for I could have gone a lot of different ways with that. So things will, like station propagation, antenna, transmit power, and band conditions will all affect how far your CQ gets out there. Activity on the band. Very important. There seems to always be more people on 20 meters and 40 meters. So if you're going to tune up and call CQ, you might want to start in one of those two bands. Also, there's a lot of activity on 80 meters, so you should definitely check that out. 80 meters is I like 80 meters a lot for nighttime voice QSOs. You'd have to see it to really understand it. One of the things that makes 80 meters kind of cool is that it doesn't get the same benefit from those high-powered Yagi antennas like the higher bands get. So you get a lot of, I don't know, it seems to be more indicative of people getting out there and chatting. Now, 3.840 megahertz is the 435 of 80 meters, right? So there are some bad apples out on 80 meters, of course, but by and large, I find it's a good nighttime band and it's a good place for talking. Sean Strong, NVIS is great, but NVIS is not going to give you the propagation you want, right? This is a near vertical, right? Weirdos on 80 meters. Can be. Says it's Swift. Okay, so calling CQ continued. Got more information here. Larger stations with more efficient antennas and higher transmit power will be more effective calling CQ blind. They just hop on a frequency that's empty and they'll start calling CQ. The reason is calling CQ with low-powered QRP radios can become frustrating as you might be there a while waiting. Big radios, big power, big antennas are going to get lots of people coming back to them, particularly if they're in interesting locations. There's a guy in Hawaii that he's got a big, really awesome antenna setup. He's got a huge tower, and he points it at the main LAN, and people line up to work him. So he's got a log jam that he breaks up. He basically starts his own net of people just trying to contact him. DXers will do that too. If you're in a DX location, you'll get a ton of people that hop on and just want to work you. So keep that in mind. QRP radios can be kind of a pain. So what I mean by QRP is you might be out there calling CQ for a while. Your propagation is how many ears you might be hitting. If you have a very large propagation, right, sphere of propagation or directional gain, you're potentially getting more targets, right, more people listening. With a QRP radio, you might not be getting out as far. Your power is not propagating or getting out there enough, right, for you to hit enough ears. And even if you do hit them, because you're on low power, they might not be hearing you that good, right? All these little things that go into these base station radios are going to help your voice get out there better. Remember when we did that 7300 video and I showed you compressor on, compressor off? Just that alone will change completely how many QSOs you get. So keep that in mind. If you're on QRP, I recommend you set up a schedule or schedule a contact. The internet makes it really easy to do that. We have a QSO group or chat room on the Discord, which Zach will post the link to the Discord. Hop on the Discord, hop on the Facebook group, and ask if anyone wants to carry a QSO with someone. In fact, after this video, we always go over to Discord. We do live voice chat. You guys can talk to me. I'll answer your questions. And while we're doing that, I will operate FT8 as well for anybody who wants to try and do a contact. Yeah. Thank you so much. It said, I wouldn't be in this hobby this much had I not found your videos. Thanks so much. KE8 Cool. KE8 KUL. That's a cool call sign. Is that was that a vanity that you got? I love that. That's very cool. So, let's see. 160, somebody said, 1958 John Deere 620. A very specific name. I love that name. 160 meters is worse if you're not hooked to Chernobyl running 3K watts and a big fat signal. Then you suck. Yeah, 160 is really a lot of wire. You got to put up a lot of wire to do 160. And into SAL radio, I use an 80 meter full wave loop homebrew. So that right there would be the hot tip if you wanted to put up an 80 meter antenna. Skywaves are awesome on 80 meters because I think 80 meter Skywave will also let you do 30 meters. Very cool antenna. You kick butt. The guy that I work the most in Arizona, a buddy of mine, he has a maypole. It's basically a fan dipole that's configured in these off configurations. He kills it too. He does really, really well on 80 meters. So hop on the HRCC Discord or Facebook group and ask if somebody would work a QSO with you. We got a chat room just for it on Discord. It makes it really easy. But skeds you can set up. They've got a forum on qrz.com where you can set up skeds. And that just means a scheduled contact. Okay, so try it out. Just, when you get HF, go for it. Dusk till dawn are terrific times to work QSOs. I mentioned it. It's called gray line. The gray line, as that band passes, all these magical things happen with RF. It seems like the RF collects at the gray line and just flies down into your radio, as well as when you transmit it, it shoots it out. So it's great for doing nighttime contacts. And then as the gray line passes over Hawaii or passes over New Zealand or Australia, you seem to be able to just lob that RF right in there. So gray line's awesome. Recommend that a lot. And that's morning time too. If you wake up, I'm a night owl. If you're a morning person, work it in the morning too. Okay, so I made a contact. Now what? You log it. Right? So you got to put that in the log. Now I'm going to I'll probably do a live stream just on logging because it can be very complicated, but it doesn't have to be. In the past, people would exchange postcards like this one. This is my QSL card. This one is blank, right? This is my QSL card. This is my station. Okay, and you got the Hashnasi there on the side, so you know who this is from. You'd exchange all that information. I said your QTH, your signal, all that stuff, your grid square. That was all done via these postcards. Let's see. QSL means report confirmation. So you got a QSO, and if I send that person a card, remember this is before the internet, if I send a person a card with the same information that they send me, and it matches theirs, that's a QSL. That's a report confirmation of a contact. Those are the fields for my QSL card, by the way, in the lower right. So a contact consists of at least the following. And we mentioned some of it, right? But I'm going to repeat it. Your call and the call of the station you're working, the date and time and UTC, why I use that clock right there behind me that I mentioned in another stream, the frequency used for the QSO. So right now I'm on 3.840. I don't think I'm going to be making any QSOs today. The received signal report and the sent signal report, meaning I said to you, you're 5'9". You said to me, you garbage, you got a 4'7", or a 3'7", or a 2'7". Okay, so I'd put that in my card as the received. You put yours in the sent or the received, the 5'9". That's our QSO. And then the sent signal report got that. And then optional station dealers. Oh my gosh, not a vanity, just a given. I think I'll keep it. I like it. KE8KUL. Pretty good. And the CW load is a little heavy, but not that bad. And I like L. I should show. I got some. The newsletter's going out tomorrow, and I put my best SSTV from the ISS in the newsletter. So the guys that get it will see that. Links in the description for the Patreon. Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate that. So optional things that you put in, station details, the radio, the antenna, the transmit power. Do you have an amp? And then there's usually a comment field. Mine has a comment field. And my grid square is on there too, and it says Los Angeles County. Pretty easy. I got these from photoqsls.com. The proprietor of PhotoQSLs is a really cool dude. He worked with me. Is this going to focus? Do I have to have a AVE moment right here? Okay. Anyway, photoqsls.com. Great. All right. So methods to log. There's lots of things you can do to write this stuff down. You can take a tablet like this, tablet of just paper. You can write the pertinent details down. There is, actually, the one that I recommend is in the Amazon shop, and you can check that out in the link in the description. I use a cell phone app called Hamlog, which that's to the right of the screen. That's all the details right there. And in piece of information, you're not going to fill that whole thing out. You're only going to fill out the call sign, the time, the sent, and the receive. That's all you really need. You can put the grid square. A lot of that gets filled out, though, from the internet, as it was mentioned. Or you can use computer applications. Ham Radio Deluxe is one. That's a PC. I believe they also have Mac. I personally use Rumlog NG. That's on Mac OS. I like it a lot. And it connects to WSJTX so that I can do automatic. So I'll make a contact on FT8. It will get logged to Rumlog NG and then immediately go and upload to Logbook of the World, QRZ, and EQSL, which I'll talk about what those mean in a second. And most will interface with your radio via CAT. So it will pick up internet. It uses the internet for time. It will pick up the frequency, the sideband, the mode you're operating from your radio if you connect it to the computer. So that is the way to go. And then can upload directly to logging websites, which we'll talk about right now. Somebody asked, do you use Hamlog for SOTA? That is exactly what I do. And that was a tip from the great KG6HQD. In fact, I'll show it to you really fast here. That was it. So it's this 73. Right there is the logo. Nope, one of the kids is dying. There we go. Focus. Right, so these are old contacts, but you just click add, and you can put in the pertinent details. Why is it so bright? Okay. And from that, you can actually export, which exporting will allow you to upload to the different websites, which we'll talk about in a second. So let's go to that right now. Stop it. Okay. So online methods. You could just short the whole thing and just log online. You could go to QRZ.com. There is EQSL, and there's Logbook of the World. So QRZ is kind of like the Facebook of amateur radio. It should read, not if amateur radio. You can have a cover sheet with your antennas. I do. If you look me up, I'm KI6NAZ. You can see my current roof antenna. That will soon be updated with a much larger and just better antenna. So make your ham radio Facebook page on QRZ.com. No affiliation to my channel, but I use it and I like it. They also have a logbook. You can set that up. You can put your logs, your QSOs there. There is EQSL. EQSL is a weird website. Retro funky is about the best I can say. I have it because people ask me to log there. I get emails from people like, hey, I worked you on such and such. Can you please upload to EQSL? It's Swift. Good correction. So, and then there's Logbook of the World. I put that it required membership. I thought it did, but It's Swift corrected me. Only if you want the awards, which I do. So that's why I made the mistake. But it's operated by the ARRL. And that website alone, I could probably spend 30 minutes to a full hour just covering how to activate Logbook of the World. It requires a postcard with like a one-time code, and then that creates a file that you have to import to your computer, and then your computer activates, connects to the website, and it was mind-numbing. I am an engineer who works on freaking satellites, and I was like, whoa, dude, this is complicated. So it needs I probably should do a something on that. N2 SAL Radio asks, when are you putting up your hex? Probably tomorrow. Logbook of the World is more secure than my 401k account. Yeah, it is, because nobody can get into it. It's impenetrable. But when you do have it worked out, it's really, really good because all the awards are there. So your worked all states, your DXCC, these are all like perks for making these contacts. Like, you want to make contacts, we already want to do that. That's why we're here. That's why we're talking today. But you'd like to take those and turn it into something. Like, I want a certificate that says I worked all the states. Hell yeah, that's a little achievement. Then they've got DXCC, which is just how many DX contacts can you make? And there's this contest of, a running total, a high score, like an arcade. Just awesome. Just get points, get QSOs, rock the house. All right, so that's pretty much it. That was a tight little 40 minute, right? Because I talked for 10 minutes in the beginning. That was a tight little presentation. I quite like that one. All right. So any questions regarding making a contact, making a QSO, any questions, and I'll try and answer them. Let's see. Orlando Stevens, nice live show. Thank you very much. At this point on Hamsphere 3, logged a Russian QSL back in May, an HF flight simulator with propagation emulation logging. Soon we'll have a Barrett 4050 500 watt large DP73s. Okay. Is Hamsphere the ham radio video game? Or probably video games offensive simulator. Um, 1957 John Deere says you have to be paid. You have to be a paid subscriber on QRZ to be able to download to Logbook of the World. Yes. So how I get around that is I use my logging software on my computer to just shoot out at all the different log websites. Zach says if you pay for QRZ, you can. Yeah, so a couple of people are saying that. Yeah, and absolutely, that's a very simplistic way of doing logging. If I get to the point with this hex beam where I'm really trying to get out and make a ton of contacts, I might just do that. What do you need to do to activate a POTA? You got to be in the park, and there is a Facebook group for POTA, so I suggest you join it. And I'm not sure. I know SOTA is 4 contacts. I'm not sure what POTA is. I'm not sure how many contacts they require. QRZ is free to download from Logbook of the World, but paid to upload. Yep. It's Swift. Logbook of the World is definitely worth the effort, but man, why so complicated? All this to prevent people from lying in order to get a certificate that you have to pay for anyway. I don't know. At least it's free. Now let's see if we can make this focus. Come on, baby. Focus. There. That's a little bit better. We'll go with that. The natives are getting restless in the background. POTA is 10 contacts. That sounds about right. I remember something like that. Sean Strong says something about Echolink, which I'll talk about Echolink briefly right now. He says that people go quiet when you hit a repeater with Echolink. I found the opposite. I think that Echolink, people don't pause long enough to let you talk on Echolink, at least the repeaters I talk on. It's Echolink enabled, but the best we're ever able to do is we literally have to go break and then say, the station on Echolink, go ahead. There's somebody on Echolink. And then let them talk, because we just talk over them. There's a lot of quick hears. And I get that that's not good operating principles, but there's a lot of people that don't follow it sometimes on the repeater. That's just kind of the way it is sometimes. So, yeah. I'm not a big user of Echolink. Hey, OH8STN is in the house. And he says, I'm the king of live stream. Thank you very much. Maybe the king of ham radio live stream. But I don't know. There's a lot of good ones out there. People have been doing it way longer than me, too. Like Ham Nation, right? Like, they got, like, a whole production crew. They've got, like, producers and stuff. Multiple feed points. That's tough. It's toughest for the producers. The talent, though, they're having a good time, and the producers are doing all the heavy lifting. I mean, the talent, of course, is talking about their talent, which is good. I don't know why I'm going into all this detail. I like Ham Nation, but I guess I'm just trying to give myself more credit for not having a producer. Doing this on my own. I could say my wife is my producer for keeping the kids quiet, or at least trying to. So thank you, producer wife. Repeater TF. Yo, Josh, I'm banned from your Discord. Can I find out why? I don't know. Zach may be in the house. If you were self-botting, that's probably why, though. I think I remember somebody named Reaper. Were you self-botting? That's probably why. Can you hear Edison? I know Z is widely pronounced Z when people refer to QRZ, but I generally don't hear people say Z on air for the call sign unless they are Brit. Why is it QRZ? Don't know. It's British. Must be British. So we use Zulu, right? Zulu is phonetic alphabet. Zulu is what we use. I know that Z is a UK thing. Z is Z. Z is not Z. Yeah, Z is how the rest of the world pronounces Z. Yeah, there you go. That's why. Yeah. So I use Zulu often. I'm getting some messages on the side here. Canadian says Z as well. Makes sense. So I want to, again, mention that we will be going to Discord shortly here, and we will continue this discussion live. You can talk to me. I can talk to you. No video, just talking, and I'll have FT8 running, and we can work that out. I would use FT8 call, and if I know I got STN here. OH8 STN. That's kind of mouthful, actually, to go OH8. Anyway, I like FT8 call. I think it's a good conversational mode, but for trying to work lots of people, FT8 is pretty good, too. So I did do a video on FT8 call. Back before I realized some of the nuances, I liked the routing capability, or the relaying. Very, very cool. Reaper TF. All right, I'll see what's going on there, bud. I'll figure out what's going on with the if you're banned or not. I don't know of us actually banning more than like 2 people from the Discord, and it was because they were egregiously bad. They were doing things way, way bad. We got a pretty loose group, though, so, you know. No. Lewis Ray asked, can you have an actual conversation on FT8? Not really. You can add like a couple of characters as a comment, but it's just a QSO. It's just a QSO mode. The original gamer asks, I'm super nervous about trying to make my first contact. I just got my general license. So refer to my last Friday video called You Just Got Your License, Now What? I talk about this. That's called mic fright. And there's a couple ways to deal with mic fright. One Don't make anything about you. Try not to talk about you. Talk about things that are just subjective. How's the weather? I'm heading home from Disneyland and the traffic's this, or, you know, whatever the traffic is, right? Just talk about relative things. Make it light, make it airy. It's just like if you bumped into somebody you were talking at the checkout stand at your grocery store. Make it simple. An easy way to start a conversation on a repeater is key up, say KI6NAZ, radio check. That's it. That's all you got to do. Pretty easy. I would recommend you do that. Okay, I'm getting confirmation. Okay, Reaper. You're gonna be allowed in one more. You got one more shot, bud. And I know you say you don't know what self-bot is, but we know you know what that means. So, chill. Okay. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I'm still terrified of opening the repeater. Yeah, you know, and some people don't get over that, and it's a lot of things that people get the same problems when they talk in front of a crowd. The only way you get over that is if you do it more. You have to do it often, and you got to keep. It's like it's not like learning to ride a bike. You never forget, right? No, it's a skill. You got to do it, right? So, yeah, just try to get out there. Start a QSO, hold down that key, say your call sign, say radio check on the repeater. And if somebody's there, they may come back to you. Use a repeater that has some life on it. And they may come back to you and say, yeah, you sound good. They'll say something like full quiet, which means your transmission is fully locking up the repeater. There's no noise coming in because you have a poor signal. And it's purely the quality of your transmission audio, your mic signal, whatnot. And then you can say, hey, thanks so much. And maybe that's it. Or you can say your call sign, thanks so much for the call. What's your QTH? Easy. Now you just started a conversation. You said, oh, I'm in Rancho Cucamonga, who's a lot of people I talk to on the local repeater. Something like that. And you all of a sudden start talking to people. You say, okay, thanks. My name's Josh. What's yours? That's it, man. It's just like talking at the grocery checkout. Well, a little bit more than that, but. Yeah, you got it. You know what's up. Dan M, can you do a video on DIY CB-DX antennas for us unlicensed guys? Seen some people get some good distance on. You know, man, you got to Google that. I'll admit where I am not proficient. I'm not a CB guy. I've owned one CB radio, and I took it apart. I needed parts to finish up a ham radio. No offense. I was just always a shortwave listener before I got into amateur radio. Reaper TF, how do I get ham tech tag in Discord? I think you have to go to the where is it? Where to go? Hop on to general and ask. Okay. How about all the acronyms and code words for CW QSOs? Difficult for a beginner. Yeah, we call those Q codes. We use some of them today. QSL, QSO, QSL, right? Confirmation of contact. A QSO, a contact. QRP, low power or reduced power. In the terms of using QRP in a radio context, reduced power. You're blowing out my front end, right? Dave asked, talk about Discord. Is it just a board? No, it's reminiscent of old IRC chat rooms. It's just a chat room. It's broken up into all kinds of different pages. I'm looking at it right now. There's a general section. There's a ham help. There's a QSO contacts. There's a DIY page for talking about projects you're working on. You name it. We even got a meme page because we got a lot of funny people out there. And then there's a an audio section where you can join it if you want, and it activates your mic and you can listen. You don't have to, though. You can just join and mute yourself, listen to me talk, and you can chat. There's a chat that we also watch for posting pictures or links when we do our discussion after this. So, Bill K3WDR, get the ARRL Operator's Handbook. I would second that. So I have the 2017 handbook that I got for a song. It was awesome. It's super cheap. The reason it's super cheap is they came out with a new model this year. It's like a box with different inserts, and those are all separate handbooks that focus on specific things. Very cool design. I like it a lot. Miriano Arcus says, "Hi, I'm from Argentina. Are some benefits of lower LSB living in a remote area? Can I do extra long DX?" The only advantage of living in a remote area is you probably have less RFI. If you have less RFI, that means your noise floor will be lower, meaning that you'll be able to draw in more signals that you can actually perceive. They'll be low-powered signals. They'll probably be difficult to pick up, but they're still there, which is pretty good. OH8STN, I came in late, but have you guys talked about the importance of using proper NATO alphabet during QSO? I did mention it for when you're calling QSO or responding to, when you are calling CQ or responding to a CQ, that you should use phonetic English, particularly on HF. I know a lot of people don't on VHF, UHF, but you still can, and it's recommended. I have Edison literally tearing up the joint in the background. It's pretty funny. Hopefully that's not coming through too loud. Okay, what do we say we head on over to the Discord? Yeah, indeed. They're not always in the background. My producer wife takes them out somewhere awesome while I do my stream, which is nice because it's quiet, but it's a lot of tax on her. So with everybody feeling not too great, I was like, nah, let's just stay home. So anyway, thank you, everybody. I appreciate that. All the links for all the stuff that we covered is going to be in the description. Facebook, Discord, Reddit, you name it, we're there. The Ham Radio Crash Course. And then we've got the Patreon. Patreon gets a newsletter once a month for $1. That's the entry level. Everybody gets a newsletter once a month written by me about different topics. I'll be putting it out tomorrow or Sunday. This month, we're talking about the Ducey Island de-expedition and the International Space Station SSTV, which I've got a lot of thoughts. It was operated by the Russians, sending NASA images, and they had some issues, which I talk about. So if you want to see that, go check out the link. Okay, guys, I appreciate all the love and everybody watching. I'm heading over to Discord. It was great. This worked out perfectly, and I'm glad we got some of the latency stuff set up, too. This is really fast, much better. So maybe we'll try no latency next time. But this is good. This is really good. Very little complaining about the lag. So love it. All right, guys, take it easy.